And before I get into this very important topic, I want to take a moment to thank all of my supporters and everyone for supporting my channel. You know, my channel truly would not be where it's at today without all of my supporters. So with that being said, let's get on down to today's very important lecture, which is there are major consequences of not filing your taxes, your income taxes. You know, we got about 10 more days before April 15th hit, you know, and taxes have to be done. But I'm going to talk about some major consequences of not filing your taxes. And because number one, you know, failure to file penalties. There are penalties if you fail to file, especially if you owe tax. The Internal Revenue Service would charge 5% of the unpaid tax amount per month up to 25% of the total. So that's a major reason that you want to make sure you file your taxes. Them penalties can add up rapidly, and I'm here to tell you. Number two, interest and extra costs. Interest occurs daily on unpaid taxes, and the Internal Revenue Service may file a substitute for return on your behalf, which often underestimates deductions and overestimates your tax liability. A number three major consequence is loss of refund. For example, if you are owed a refund, you must file within 3 years of the deadline in order to claim it, because if not, you can potentially lose it. Another major consequences of not filing your taxes is collection actions. The IRS may place a tax lien, meaning a legal claim on your property, or issue a levy, meaning they can seize your property or wages to satisfy the debt. That's a critical consequence of not filing your taxes. Another consequences of not filing your taxes is loan delays. You know, unfiled returns can cause delays in mortgage, business, or student loans, and a lot of people may not be aware of that. So, you know, there are many other major consequences, but I kind of want to highlight some of the main ones that should be known by working adults. Because number one, people, you know, April 15th is right around the corner. This is nothing new. You know, I've always been the type of proactive person where I'm gathering all of my information throughout the year. You know, my taxes been filed. I'm actually getting my stuff together to file for 2026. I don't mess around with that. You know, rather you're doing your personal tax or business tax or both, you know, that's all about accountability and responsibility, bottom line. You know, because now with all of the technology and everything, you know, it just take a matter of minutes for the Revenue Service to know whether or not you file your taxes by that deadline. And I always tell people, you know, use a certified public accountant. You know, I've always used a CPA to file my personal taxes, my business taxes. Yeah, you're going to pay a little bit more, but that CPA, one of the most powerful reasons, number one, they go to school to get a degree in accounting. In addition, they have set for an exam. They have to answer to a credentialing board to sit for an exam to get that second layer of credential as a CPA. They have to maintain continuing education hours to renew their credential. They have to answer to a governing board, and they have to stay abreast of all of the tax laws. They have the software, and CPAs don't just do personal and business taxes. They handle people business books. You know, you can utilize them as a resource throughout the year. You know, they are the experts at what they do. And again, even though I'm fully retired, going on 3 years now, I've always maintained my business simultaneously while I was in the workforce. The last 25 years in the workforce, I had my company simultaneously all the way up until I retire. So I've always used a certified public accountant to do my personal taxes, my business taxes, resource throughout the year. And my accountant does a phenomenal job. And whatever money you pay that CPA, you save that receipts, because that money you pay will be a business expense write-off for the next year. Bottom line, people, handle your business. This is all about accountability, responsibility. You know, I've talked to a lot of people. I know a lot of people. I really do. I talk to a lot of people. I know a lot of people who don't file the taxes. They've had their wages garnished, their assets frozen, and I've always been told Uncle Sam is not who you want to play with. Go ahead and handle your business, you know, because if you don't file your taxes, if you're behind in your taxes, if you owe taxes, they can garnish your paycheck, they can freeze your assets, they can go into your bank account. They're going to get their money. This is real talk. And this is all about ties into doing your due diligence, financial freedom, where you're handling your finances. You have working knowledge of what's going on. Bottom line, handle your business, because April the 15th is right around the corner. There are people right now who has not even started on pulling that information together in any shape, form, or fashion. Yeah, you can do an extension, but you're just opening up that Pandora box. Everybody know every year, April the 15th, you gotta have your taxes filed. So don't let this time creep up on you, real talk, people. So share this information. Somebody might need to hear this information. Again, I really do want to thank all of my supporters, everyone, for supporting my channel. I see some folks are into this live stream. God is going to continue to push my channel into the next stratosphere, people. My channel is been monetized going on 4 years. My channel, June of this year, will be 6 years old, and nothing will be possible without all of my supporters. That's all I have. Simple fidelity, and I'm going to leave you in the care of your own conscience. Have a great day.